Excuse me. Alright. So I'm taking a stab at these, and I'm going to review each episode of the first season of the new Twilight Zone. So, it's the first episode. It's called The Comedian. It stars Kumail Nanjiani. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. And, Nanjiani. And Tracy Morgan, who's also in the episode. Of course, this new version of the show is hosted by Jordan Peele. The original series was hosted by the late, great Rod Serling. But, Rod Sterling, whatever. Serling. I was right the first time. Rod Serling. So this episode is called The Comedian. And no, there's no Jeffrey Dean Morgan smoking a cigar. It's about a comedian, played by Kumail Nanjiani, who he plays Samir Wasson, and he's a terrible comedian. None of his jokes land. He keeps doing this joke about the Second Amendment that never lands, but he still keeps trying to do. Even after he gets popular, he still tries to start with that. And so he meets one of his idols, played by Tracy Morgan, who tells him that he can have it all. He just has to start talking about the people in his life, but warns him that if he does that, there are consequences. So he goes up to do his set. He starts doing the Second Amendment joke. It's not working, so he starts talking about his cat. People start laughing and stuff. And so he goes home, or his dog named Cat. He starts talking about his dog named Cat. He goes home, and the dog's not there. And the wife, girlfriend, whatever, I don't know if they actually say what she is, has no recollection of ever having a dog. The next time the next time we see him, he's with his girlfriend's nephew, and he starts telling a joke about him. And the nephew disappears. Every time he tells a joke about someone, they disappear. So he gets the idea that he's going to go and he's going to get rid of all the people that bullied him, growing up, and go off on them. But he starts with this other comedian who is constantly drinking and caused an accident which killed a woman and her baby. He does a joke about that guy, and he goes away. It never happened. But he gets too caught up in it, and he starts doing it, talking about people that he grew up with, a coach, whatever, someone that was a sexual predator, and he goes away. And then he gets jealous of his wife's relationship with her mentor, played by, I don't remember the actor's name, but he's been in some stuff. Ryan Robbins. He's a Canadian actor. He's been in a lot of stuff, but he gets jealous, and so he tells a joke about him. And he goes away. And that completely changes his life. Because if his wife or girlfriend had no mentor, that means that she is not a lawyer anymore. Which means now she's working at a diner. She's now a waitress. And but also, because she's not a lawyer, they didn't have money to go on a certain trip to Paris, which was what repaired their relationship. So the relationship is no longer repaired, and she breaks up with him. And so he starts to realize that there are consequences to erasing people from, his life. Not just, what if the people did something great? Although it doesn't seem to do much, because after this, he starts lining up and naming off random people that he wants to get rid of. Who knows what good stuff they have done? What if there's one person that bullied him in high school, right? That would, in the future, go on to create the cure for cancer. What if he is, on the way to creating a cure for cancer, and now that person doesn't exist anymore, and there's no cure for cancer? What about that? It's something to think about. So where it really kind of, up to this point, I was like, okay, I get what he's supposed to be thinking. And, he's supposed to learn a lesson. But then he just keeps on naming these random people. And the biggest problem with this is that the jokes that he's doing aren't funny. But I get why they're not. They're not supposed to be funny to us. It's supposed to show some kind of magic type supernatural thing is every time he starts to talk about it, because he tries to tell the same jokes over and over again, because people don't exist anymore, they're not funny anymore. If he starts talking about other people, then they get funny. No more is this prevalent than when his girlfriend shows up with a list of people and she gets pissed at him. Before this, though, he has a rival, right? Her name is Dee Dee. And they're both up to be on this show. And there's only one slot for each of them. Only one slot, period. So one of them has to go, one has to stay behind. And I was thinking, okay, it's going to go this way. He's falling deep into this. And he's going to tell a joke about her, about Dee Dee. And then she's going to disappear and he gets the slot. But it doesn't happen. It's very weird and kind of stupid how it does happen, though. Like, he comes out, doesn't tell a joke, but he just says, let's hear it for Dee Dee. And she disappears. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Why does she disappear? He didn't actually tell a joke. And you could say, oh, well, that was the start of his act. So he mentioned her in his act. She's gone. No, that still doesn't make any sense to me. But it would make more sense if he did it out of jealousy. But he doesn't. Like he did with the professor, but he doesn't. Or the mentor, or whatever, but he doesn't. So then the girlfriend, wife, whatever, shows up with the list. And she's pissed off, right? And this is where you can tell there's some kind of supernatural thing going on. Because he starts doing a joke about himself. He starts bashing himself. She starts laughing. And then he disappears. You see the mic drop. He's gone. And then you see Tracy Morgan's back talking to Dee Dee. So the circle's gonna continue. He's gonna keep, talking to people. And then they end on something that I thought was actually kind of cool. Because when this starts, you are shown a mural of comedians that are on a wall, right? And it's going out. It looks as if they're in an audience, but it's not. It's just a mural. What do you call that? Montage? A collage. And the episode ends with that very same collage. The camera pans back over to the collage, but this time, Samir is in the collage. I'm like, oh, so that's kind of comparing the two shots from the beginning and the end. You get the same shot, but this time, Samir is in the collage. Showing that maybe you could interpret it that collage is actually hell. And Tracy Morgan is actually the devil or a demon or something collecting souls. And every time, but are you guaranteed that every time it's going to end up with the person, sacrificing himself? How do you know? You don't know. It's really weird. But I think it was a decent episode to start with. The next one is sort of a reimagining of the legendary episode with William Shatner. Nightmare at 20,000 feet, which is now, Nightmare at 30,000 feet, but that's the next episode, which I haven't watched yet. But I watched this last night, but I was uploading Pet Sematary 2 review, and I wasn't done before I went to bed, so. Yeah. So, all in all, I think it was a decent episode. Decent start. Probably not the best, but decent. So what are your thoughts on this episode of the Twilight Zone? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Scotty. See you in the next one.